Welcome everyone to Planet of NY Sports. Here we talk Yankees, Mets, Giants, Jets, and a little bit of the Knicks and Nets. Okay. Unless you're like living under a rock, I assume you know what happened yesterday. The Giants beat the Minnesota Vikings in the playoffs. Oh my gosh. Daniel Jones had quite possibly the best game I've seen him play, given the stakes and everything. Oh my gosh, this is something. You see their names right here. It's pretty obvious what we're going to be talking about today. So, who wants to start off here?
Oh, well, do you want to go Weston or do you want me to get the ball
I
rolling?
was, I was going to defer to you, but if you want me to do it, I can start off.
No, I can start. I'm basically all I'm going to say to start things off is exactly what I said not even 5 minutes ago. Giants deserve the win. We were terrible. Well, we weren't terrible. Offensively, going back to my hot take before in the pre-game show. You can say what you want about the final drive of the game, but Kirk Cousins had himself a game. Up until that last drive, that was probably one of his best games as a Minnesota Viking. And to be honest, we say that pretty much what feels like every single game. Oh, that was Kirk Cousins' best game as a Viking. That was Kirk Cousins' best game as a Viking. And what not to take anything away from you guys, because well done. I'm probably going to be rooting for you in the rest of the games, but I'm stunned at how many people are blaming Kirk Cousins for that loss. I mean, the defense allowed 5 out of 6 scoring drives and allowed 8 yards per snap. That is nearly a first down every snap. And the second quarter summed it up for me. You were on the field for 10 minutes of that second quarter. How do you expect the offense to win you a game when you can't get off the field and you're allowing the opposition offense to play for 10 minutes?
And also, Sam, real quick too, I just want to get in here. Also, that whole entire drive, me and my dad were just talking to each other, and we were just like, okay, are they going to put a spy on Daniel Jones now? Because, literally, that whole entire quarter, he just kept running, and we're like, where's the spy? Where's the spy? They just didn't do it. All right, go on.
I mean, it was on that. We were saying way before the game, put Brian Asamoah on a spy or put Eric Kendricks on a spy, because it felt like someone put on the group chat during the game that it felt like Daniel Jones had just gone that one annoying kid on Madden and just and gone the Ravens and would just run and not pass. It was like, bro, just pass the ball, man. We can't stop it. But yeah, I'm not. As I say, I'm not taking anything away from you guys. You came to play, and at the end of the day, if we had a proper defensive coordinator who, quite frankly, I can call better plays on with Madden, and I don't play American football. So, there's probably college defenses that are better than whatever shower of insert expletive here came to play yesterday, because that defense did not come to play. And before I let Weston jump in, I think where the Vikings need to go this offseason is, I don't think the team needs an overhaul. That offense has led that team to a 13 wins. And when you look at the defense Kirk Cousins has had to play with, it's impressive that we finished 13-4. Considering what we've had to, it's almost like it's been the Vikings offense playing the Vikings defense week in, week out, seeing who can who can screw up the most. And unfortunately, the one score game that mattered this season, we lost in. But I think for me, that the defense just needs a complete overhaul. Get rid of Ed Donatel. I don't even know how he's got a job as a head coach. I just words can't even get them out with how annoyed I am at that man. He doesn't even have hair. Come on. But yeah.
All right, Weston. All right, Weston. So I know you have a page full of notes there. So
about 3 of them, to say the least, that I jotted down 10, 15 minutes ago. All right, I'll start off. I'm not going to go over all of them off the spot, but I'll go over a few things. First off, congratulations to the New York Giants and the New York Giants organization. you guys played like a hard fought off game. Like, you guys deserve this win. Minnesota, you can't really expect to win when you allow 400 plus yards a game, which I actually jotted down. In the regular season, they had 8 games where they allowed 400 plus yards. So this is number 9 off the season. I mean, you can't really expect to win the Super Bowl if you have a defense like that. But no, huge congrats to the Giants. Like, this is going to be a huge confidence boost heading into the offseason, depending on what happens, throughout the playoffs. But so the first thing I got written down here. So on our last podcast discussion, my 2 keys to the game were the offensive line and the defense. Did the keys come true? The offensive line, I put yes-ish. I'll explain. So the O-line did not allow a single sack. That's actually pretty decent, and you couldn't ask for anything better. And it was mostly a clean game penalty-wise, outside of one penalty, which was that false start when they were trying to do that QB sneak before that field goal. The only slight downside was the rushing game. Like, Dalvin only got 60 yards off the day, 61 yards in total if you count that QB sneak for a score. So, yeah, I say the offensive line, yes, they did their thing outside of the running. But, yeah, I'm going to go back to the defense. This was the biggest key in the game. And when they needed it most, just like Avatar, it disappeared. I mean, it's been disappeared since week 2, but still. I mean, as I said, another game where 400 plus yards of offense is allowed. This is the 9th time it's happened this season. Only 2 forced punts. 2. And we only got one of them because Darius Slayton, the ultimate Big Mac maker at McDonald's, dropped a pass. Like, are you kidding me? We were blessed to get number 2. We only should have got 1, if we're being honest here. You know what I mean? And of course, on third down, they went 7 for 13. Saquon was tearing us alive. Daniel Jones, Vanilla Vic. Like, yes, I want to call him Vanilla Vic today. He proved it. He proved it. And of course, 2 for 2 on third down. But the one thing that kind of hurt was there were some key missed tackles. And the play I want to bring that up on was that Matt Breida on 31. Kendricks with the missed tackle and a couple players that came off the top of my head. But yeah, those were my keys to the game. One of them was a yes, but the one that we needed the most definitely failed. And that is a huge part as to why the Giants, and yes, I know people call them New Jersey Giants. Well, you are New York now. You should be New York for the rest of the year until what happens, okay? So I'm going to get that part out of the way, and I'll see what else we got on the notes as this show goes on.
All right. Wow. Okay, so since you guys just did that, I'll just go over my keys to victory and see if that happened. So to go over it first for the Giants, the whole pressure and Kirk thing, that didn't really work. Kirk, I wouldn't say there were a few pressures, but I don't really think they got to him as much as I would have liked personally, especially in that second half when you guys started to come back late and stuff. I also said win a turnover battle. Well, we saw how that went. There was really no turnovers. So, but it's fine. And then I also said use the cover 6 to keep more eyes on Jefferson. So that actually worked because with the Giants, we did have a Dory Jackson on him, but there was usually 2 eyes on him. Like that's exactly what I brought up. There was 2 guys usually on him. Like we saw in that first drive, though. I was like, oh boy, I thought we were going to be in for like a long one with Jefferson because like you guys were just going boom, 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 tearing that soft zone apart. And then, like, we get into the second quarter, we keep your offense off the field. I feel like that was, like, the key to, the game for the Giants because those 10 minutes felt like forever. And, the Vikings offense, they're just on the bench the whole entire time. And I was like, dang, this is good. I was like, this is what the Giants need to do. And me and my dad, we were basically like, are they going to put a spy on Daniel Jones? Like, seriously. We're like, what are they doing? Like, you clearly see. Like, it happened not once, not twice, not 3 times. Like, the guy was just running all over the place. Then you let him run a QB power. Like, come on. Like, Ed Donna, I'm not. You guys have already preached it, so I'm not going to get into it too much. But it's really unfortunate for the Minnesota Vikings. So, do you guys have anything else you want to talk about here before I go off into the Giants stuff?
I'll
let you go.
No.
Okay. So I did write down the statistics of both the QBs. I put Daniel Jones, that guy, question mark. I'll say for now, yes. Like, the guy had a crazy game, 301 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks, QBR of 81.2, passer rating of 114.1, and of course, he had 78 yards on top of that rushing-wise. So yes, like you said, And I was actually going to point that out. I think this is the best game Daniel Jones has had in his entire football life. Like, and I'm talking like, professional, college, high school. This is the biggest game he's ever had. Like, he delivered. He showed why he deserves to be the franchise QB going forward for the New York Giants. Now all the Giants have to do is give this man some more weapons, and he could be dangerous because Daboll, man, he showed why he's that guy. Daboll showed why he is the man. And another one I got, which is Kirk. So I put, is it all Kirk's fault? ? I know right off the stats. So 31 for 39. He did have one rushing TD for 1 yard, the QB sneak. But he had 270 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, no picks, QBR of 85.2, and a passer rating of 112.9. And yeah, like good old Sam said over here, if you take out that last play of the game, which I cannot really say was mostly his fault, because you did mention, RJ, that the QB pressure wasn't there. I kind of disagree with you. Like, it wasn't there, but when you guys needed the most, it was there. And the pressure on Kirk Cousins, which is why he got rid of the ball so quickly to Hawkinson, got to him. But you take that pass away, it's one of Kirk's best games as a Viking, But, of course, we all know what the fan base is going to do. They're going to blame it on Kirk Cousins and call it a day. I'm reading the comment section. A few sprinkles of fire at Donatel, but mostly Kirk needs to go. He's terrible. Blah, 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 blah. Like, a lot of these fans have probably been fans since probably like 2010. Like, did you live through the Tavares Jackson era? Rest in peace to the guy. But Tavares Jackson was awful. His little, he on his tippy toes, and then he swings it, and it mostly ended up in a pick. We had a couple years of Brett Favre. 2010, it was bad. Gus Frerotte. We drafted Christian Ponder. We had Teddy Bridge over troubled waters. I mean, it's been worse. Kirk is the best QB I've literally seen this franchise had in person. You know what I mean? And then, of course, we got the rushing. Saquon, I knew he was going to be a factor in this game. I mean, he had 53 yards, but he had 2 touchdowns. He had some key blocks. He had the first downs that they needed the most. Dalvin kind of had 15 carries for 60 yards. But one question I had about the rushing was, why did you not use Alexander Madison in the short yard situations? 3rd and 1. That's the play where I'm putting Madison on the field, and I'm heading off to him. I know he's going to get those yards. Why am I doing a loop to JJ, and JJ's throwing all the way back to Kirk? I mean, listen, I love Kirk with all my heart. The dude is not a runner, and you put nobody to block for him. You have 2 Giants right there. They're going to eat this man alive. It's Thanksgiving part 2 for these guys. Why are you calling this? Why are you going cute? It's a 7-7 game. There's no need to go cute, okay? I understand the aggressiveness, but still, man. Man. That's all I got for now. I'm going to take a few sips. I'll let Sam do his thing.
So I'll keep the ball rolling with Kirk Cousins, and I think in the saving grace from that game is Kwesi Adofo-Mensah is a statistical guy, and statistically Kirk Cousins has been a top 10 quarterback this season. So I don't think the Vikings will move on from Kirk Cousins, thankfully, because as you said, I think Kirk Cousins is one of the best quarterbacks the Vikings have had in the franchise's history. And, you can argue with me till whatever, but till I turn blue, but I won't. I will. I'll always say Kirk Cousins has been one of the best quarterbacks the Vikings have ever had, because, he was the reason that the Vikings were consistently in positions that could have resulted in a comeback, not only in this game, but all season. It hasn't been the defense. Granted, the defense has been getting key turnovers in key parts of the game, but where were they then? Why were we not getting key turnovers in key parts of the game this game? And I hate to be that guy that moans about the refs, but the refs sucked. I'm not being funny. So early on in the game, it was 7-7, and there was a full start on
Andrew Thomas.
Thank you. On Andrew Thomas, it was missed that led to you then getting the touchdown. Which I'm not saying we could have prevented the touchdown in later plays, but say we force you to a field goal, the result of the game could be different. But then they missed that full start, which in my opinion was blatantly obvious. But they get Chris Darrisaw for twitching. where's the consistency there? And the other thing that I wanted to point out about the refs, there was absolutely no protection for Kirk Cousins from the refs until that BS roughing the passer call late in the game, which I'm going to say was not roughing the passer, but there were so many late hits on Kirk Cousins throughout the entire game that were missed. That is 15 yards that we should, in my opinion, have had. But for them to then give that roughing the passer call late in the I think it was in the fourth quarter, was just an insult, in my opinion, because it wasn't roughing the passer. Again, no consistency from the refs. One thing I will say about the officials, I really like the expedited review system. I thought that worked really well. And I would like to see that implemented. I think, is it going to be implemented in the regular season?
Yeah.
Okay, good, because I would like to see that implemented because it worked really well and it sped the game. It sped the game up. But just before I let you, sorry, I'll drop my pen. I like to drop pens for some reason. Just before I let you talk about the Giants, I need to vent about this because Danielle Hunter, great edge rusher, but I said on the group chat we should start a drinking game every time Danielle Hunter drops into coverage because my God, there were so many times on key third downs and key fourth downs that you'd see Danielle Hunter dropping into coverage, and even Dalvin Tomlinson, right? Dalvin Tomlinson is a big bloke that he's so good in the middle. But why was he being used on the edge as contained for Daniel Jones on key third and fourth downs? Like I don't understand how that works because he's, no offense, he's not Usain Bolt. He's not going to catch up with Daniel Jones. To be honest, I probably could have done a better job at containing Daniel Jones than a big defensive tackle. But yeah, and just to come back to the refs, just to come to the end of my notes. Obviously, I'm not gonna blame the refs for the loss. We all know who we are blaming for the loss, but there was also a timeout that was missed by the officials on fourth down. Vikings had too many players on the field. Kevin O'Connell was trying to call a timeout. Eventually, it didn't matter. We got the player off in time, but why? Yeah, it just felt like everything was against us. And all I'm going to say is if it was Josh Allen getting hit as many times as Kirk Cousins last night, there'd be roughing the passer calls all over the place. Heck, I love Tom Brady, but even Tom Brady as well, there'd be so many roughing the passer calls if it was Tom Brady. But
or Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, I call the Rodgers rule. I call it the Rodgers rule.
Rodgers.
Ever since Anthony Barr had that hit on Aaron Rodgers, like I remember 2018, there were so many horrible roughing, like Clay Matthews. That man got violated with so many horrible roughing the passer calls, like against Minnesota, which I'm surprised they got that call because usually Minnesota gets screwed by the refs. We're like the poor man's Detroit when it comes to getting screwed official wise. And then of course I know he got flagged against Washington, like. Man, because Rodgers had to go and complain to the NFL going, we need more quarterback protection. Okay, if you're a top 5 quarterback, if you're a superstar, yeah, we'll give you the protection. If you're anybody else, you tore your ACL because he twisted your leg, go to the hospital. We don't care. Pay it on your own tab, please.
Just on that, though, it's completely irrelevant to the game. I did want to bring it up. There was... I can't remember what game it was in, but when the quarterback slides down to protect him and protect the ball, something needs to change about that because last season Eric Kendricks made completely unavoidable contact and got ejected, and since then the amount of players that make intentional contact with the quarterback after they've gone down to gain yardage that don't get ejected and it's just a penalty. Why have we suddenly stopped ejecting players? Because, in my opinion, the Eric Kendricks incident last season was completely unavoidable, and he got ejected for it. But there's been so many times this season. Again, this is completely irrelevant to the game. I just, whilst I was on the topic of refs, I wanted to bring it up that there's been so many incidents this season where players are going in for a hit on the quarterback intentionally after the quarterback is down, and there's no deterrent for them because it seems like they're too scared. They made such a cock up on the Eric Kendricks call last season that they're like, can't eject anyone else again. But yeah, that's me over with for now. I'll let you talk about the Giants.
Okay, well, I'm not gonna get into the Giants straight away. If anything, I still have like some takeaways from the Vikings game, like, you know, from their aspect. So I would say, just going back on you guys, the defense does need a lot of help, because I also have some stats here. So 68 plays for Daniel Jones, 68 for 431 yards, 68 plays. And we already know Vanilla Vet, blah, blah, blah. But also, they were making Isaiah Hodgins look like Cooper Kupp out there. Like, I don't know what was going on. Like, Isaiah Hodgins, don't get me wrong, he's decent. But, like, you know, he would be like a number 4 receiver on literally almost any other team. Maybe a 3 with how he's played, but I don't know. And then also, I would say the TJ Hawkinson trade. I just want to bring up how good of a trade that was, to be honest, because he has stepped up big this season. And, you know, the Giants, our plan was to limit Jefferson, and it was basically like, okay, you're just going to have to let Hawkinson beat you, and if he does whatever, let him do his thing. But, you know, that Hawkinson trade, man, he was killing us. Like, he was just annoying me, like, the whole entire time, especially that last drive. Me and my dad were like, yo, watch Hawkinson, because, like, he's just – I don't know. He just became a tight end kill. Well, no, the Giants, we are awful against tight ends. That's something I've noticed. We are like awful against tight ends. But like TJ Hawkinson, he feels like a Giants killer. I don't like seeing that guy face us. And then one more point, I would say the future is bright with Kevin O'Connell. I really like him. I think, you know, it's his first season. Wild card. I mean, you know, like you guys said, there wasn't like, you know, 13-4. You could make the argument, like, you know, maybe you should have like beat a team like, but like, you know, I'd say for a first season going 13-4 and making the playoffs, that's a good first step. So now you guys just need to, you know, fire Ed Donatel, you know, address that, get the defense together, and I can see you guys making a deep playoff run next year. Now going into the Giants here, I'm gonna say not Dable, but the balls, because that's what he had. That is what he had yesterday. Basically, he went for it on 4th down multiple times. Yeah, high risk, high reward. Also, the guy, he's not afraid to go for a 2-point conversion. He's a very aggressive coach, and I just want to point that out. And it's just nice to see how the Giants culture has basically changed from the whole Joe Judge medium Pepsi or free medium Pepsi era, QB sneak on 3rd and 9, all of that. We're done with that. We don't do that here anymore. We're done. So like, it's just nice to see now, the culture has finally changed. And going into this next game against the Eagles for the Giants, again, you have nothing to lose. No one was picking you to make the playoffs. You got nothing to lose. The Eagles, they barely beat our 3rd string quarterback. So, you never know. And they have that long layoff too. We saw last year, I just want to point out, both number 1 seeds did lose in the divisional round. The Titans and the Packers, they both lost. So it's not impossible. The Eagles, they're not the greatest team ever. This isn't the Patriots, the undefeated Patriots that lost to the Giants, as you all know. But they're not that team. And I'm just saying it's not impossible. Do I expect us? Am I going to go in here and be like, oh yeah, we're going to win this game? Like, I wouldn't say all that. But I would give the Giants a fighting chance, especially with the Eagles' defense floundering as of late. Now, just getting back to this game, I would say I'm not even calling him Danny Dimes. I'm going to say Danny Dollars. Danny Dollars, because he is going to be getting paid. He is going to be getting paid. And oh my gosh, this is a crazy scenario. I don't know if it'll happen, but you never know. If this man wins the Super Bowl, the amount of money you are going to have to pay him. Mm-hmm. Oh my gosh. Ugh. Like, you can't really fault the Giants for declining that 5th-year option, like, given the circumstances. But man, it just looks really stupid right now. But like, you can't fault them, because coming into this year, you don't know if Daniel Jones was going to play like this, and maybe Dable at that time wanted his own guy, so it was like, okay, just take the risk. But clearly, for Daniel Jones, this is the best thing that could have happened to him. So yeah, those are all the points I wanted to bring up. So is there anything else you guys want to talk about?
So, yeah, sure. I was going to go over some key mistakes that the Minnesota Vikings made that if these were prevented, maybe we get a different outcome, but I'm not 100% sure. So, I already discussed it earlier. Kevin O'Connell getting a little too cute on that 3rd-and-1 pass to Kirk play, so I'm not going to go too much on that. Another point. So, when I see Irv Smith Jr. on the field, it kind of irritates me because, the reason why this franchise traded for Hawkinson was because, well, I guess because Irv was injured, but Irv was a massive liability. He's been dropping crucial passes all season long, like against Philadelphia in week 2. Probably would have had the momentum going Minnesota's way if Irv catches that pass that makes it a 21-14 game. He had a crucial drop, which could have lost Minnesota their first matchup against Detroit. So on the 3rd drive on 2nd and 3, Kirk, of course, lobs a pass, which should have been a catch. Guess who dropped it? Irv Smith Jr. If he would have just caught that, got the yards he needed, maybe Minnesota gets a field goal off that drive or hits the end zone. I don't know. But, of course, they couldn't convert on 3rd down, and they had to punt for the 2nd time that game. I'm going to get out of the way. Yes, we did talk about the Kirk dump-off pass on 4th and 8. Was not the smartest decision, of course, but I'm not going to have that take away from the great game he has. The media and stuff, because, he had all these plays. He was having a great game, but because we're going to focus on this one play, it's, oh, yeah, this is why Kirk can't win games. But I don't see how you can overcome when your defense lets up 400-plus yards. And I had a few more things, just 3 more things off that. Of course, lack of defensive adjustments after halftime. Clearly what Donatell was doing wasn't working, so adjustments had to be made, and there was either none or lack thereof. The false start on 4th and 2, the Vikings were going to go for it, and then, of course, we had that false start on Darisaw. That was a huge killer. If Minnesota would have taken the lead off that drive, it could have been a huge momentum swing. Well, actually, I don't know. The defense still probably could have been like a parking cone, against the band. Useless. And then the last one that I think a lot of people aren't really shining a lot of attention on it is the conservative play calling for the final 2 drives of the game. I think both of you can agree on this. The Vikings were kind of going semi aggressive, but the final 2 drives, why are you going so conservative? Why are you calling screen passes and slants? Take some shots down the field, my guy. KOC, did you freeze? I've been preaching all year. Did you freeze? He froze. My man hasn't called a downfield play in 2 hours, man. Let's do screens. Let's do bubble slants. It's not the time. It's win now mode. You want, you were saying, I'm going to make sure this team wins Super Bowl. I mean, you still have years left, so I will give you the benefit of the doubt. You are a young head coach. Even Sean McVay couldn't win his first playoff game when the Rams got blown out against the Falcons on Sunday Night Football. But, why, though? It just wasn't the time for it. Okay. That's all I got on the Minnesota Vikings mistakes. And my next segment, I'll do the random statistics, but I'll do that after Sam here goes.
So I'm conscious that I haven't spoke much about the Giants, but I'll come to the Giants just before we finish because I do want to talk about the future of both franchises. But just before I come to that, I do want to talk about that final play because I've watched it back and I'm probably going to get hated on for saying this, but it was the smartest option to check it down. And I know it cost us the game, but throughout the entire game, TJ Hawkinson had been breaking tackles and beating Giant players left, right, and center. But Kirk had players in his face within a second, and no one was really open downfield. There was zone coverage on Jefferson, on Thielen, on KJ. So the chances of a completion were very slim. And I know that's really stupid to say because playoffs you take that chance, but realistically in that scenario, I think the wisest option was to check it down to TJ Hawkinson because he was open, and the chance of him breaking that tackle is 9 times out of 10 he breaks that tackle. But no one will think about it like that because, hey, Kirk Cousins cocked up in prime time. Kirk Cousins threw the wrong pass. Kirk Cousins is a terrible quarterback. But look, the Vikings organization is in safe hands. And I think before I talk about the Giants, I'm just going to talk about the Vikings because, funny enough, that's what I know most about. And I think for me, I did touch on it briefly earlier on, but I'm going to say I think we need to trade Dalvin Cook. And I know people in the group chat have been saying, oh, no one will want to trade for him, but there will be a team out there that will want Dalvin Cook. Doesn't matter if, we don't get the picks we want or the players that we want, but at the end of the day, we need to move on from Dalvin Cook because he's been great, but this season kind of just proved that he's not the same. And I think it was kind of showing. He was kind of showing that last season a bit. Like he's putting up the numbers, but don't we slate Kirk Cousins for putting up the numbers and not doing anything with it? Isn't that what he gets paid for, being a stat padder? Just saying. And I think defensively, as I say, we need a complete overhaul. And I think there's already been a few conversations about it, but getting rid of some of the veterans. I don't think we need to get rid of all of them because obviously who are we going to have to replace them? But whether we, draft some good players or go or take a dive in the free agency, I think we've got to really assess what we want to do defensively because we can't be in the same situation again. Because if you saw that defense out, you've got a top 10 offense there. You get a top 10 defense. You've got a Super Bowl winning team. The reason the Vikings haven't got to the Super Bowl this season is simply because the defense is crap. We are the second worst defense in the National Football League. And to think you can win a playoff game with that caliber defense, I think as great as Kevin O'Connell has been in his first year, a lot of it is on Kevin because he called out how crap the defense was midway through the season. Why not make that change? Why not make that change and say, oh, we're going to get in a new DC, or we're going to promote someone to DC from inside the organization? Because you clearly saw that there was an issue, and I was listening to, I don't know, Weston, if you listened to Purple for the Win, but he was saying last night that, last night for me, I don't know if it was considered last night for you over there, but he was saying that, I appreciate that toes don't want to be stepped on and whatever, but to be a leader, you've got to go in and make that tough call and say, look, we need more pressure. We need more this, we need more that. We can't be so negative. And I think it's a shame because the season wasn't ready to end, in my opinion, but it was going to catch up on us at some point. And as sad as it was, I'm proud of what the team's achieved this season. I'm proud of how we've bounced back from such a negative, toxic environment at the organisation, and not to throw shade at Mike Zimmer, but bounced back from 2 seasons of no playoff football. And I think with the roster that we've got, the future's bright. And I'll come to the Giants in a bit, because I'm assuming Weston and RJ yourself are going to want to talk about the Giants a bit more. So I'll leave this for a bit.
Okay, so real quick here, you did mention guys you want to trade. So I'm just gonna say some names here. So let's say Harrison Smith, he has a 19.2 million cap hit next year. So how are you guys feeling about him?
Shoot, so I actually wrote down a list of some players that possibly might go, and yeah, some Vikings fans might kill me for saying this, but I actually did put Harrison Smith on the list. As much of a fantastic guy this man has been, I watched him his entire career as a Viking. The dude's been one of the more dominant safeties in the league. Age is probably starting to catch up to him a little bit. Can he really survive this long under a new scheme, especially if we're going to get a new scheme under a new DC next year? And yeah, to save cap space, of course, names are going to have to go. He's not the only one. Adam Thielen could possibly be gone. His wife posted that their time in Minnesota may come to an end, which it's kind of sad because he grew up 2 hours away from me at not Devil's Lake, that's in North Dakota, but wherever Detroit Lakes, yeah, because he's a Detroit Lakes kid. He's a Minnesota kid his entire life. Went to Minnesota Mankato, like undrafted. Like that's the only reason why the Vikings knew about him in the first place. Kendricks could possibly be gone. Madison for sure is gone, unless if Cooks gets shipped off, or Dalvin Cook gets shipped off, and they decide to pay Madison the money. And there's probably some others, but yeah, if Harrison Smith does indeed get traded, I can understand why. It's gonna be painful, but I can understand why it happened. Because yeah, you gotta create some cap space. You gotta clean up a little bit of the mess that Rick Spielman made throughout the years. Like, of course, Spielman was cheap most time, but there were some big free agent signings. Like, everyone's going to point out to Kirk, which, yes, the contract may have been bad. I mean, he played up to it, but it may not have been favorable. But the guy signed Alec Boone. I'm pretty sure a lot of Vikings fans probably forgot about him until I bring it up just now. That dude may have been like the second biggest free agent signing he's had, like, as a tenure as a GM. And he was a bust. Like, he was out of the city within 1 year. And I think he got, like $40 million guaranteed. He got signed like an $80 million contract. I don't remember the numbers off the top of my head, but he got a lot of money just to be gone in 1 year. And he was giving up all these sacks. He was getting beat off the rush 24/7. So, yeah, if Smith does get traded, it will be sad to see him go, but I completely understand why it has to happen. You got to create cap if you want to win.
So, you go.
I was just going to mention, obviously, a lot of our defensive players are getting older, but how much of them looking washed is down to the scheme? Because you talk about age catching up to them, but realistically, Harrison Smith was not playing in his normal role. Daniil Hunter was not playing in his normal role. So Darius Smith, you could argue as well, was not playing in his normal role. Neither Eric Kendricks or potentially, Jordan Hicks. So I think whilst we need to assess where we've got to move on, but at the same time, you've also got to look how these players were playing poorly because they were not playing in their positions or in their natural roles. And I think we've got to assess both sides as well. Look, if we keep Ed Donatel, God forbid, I would probably, I was joking on the group chat last night. I will fly over from the UK and bring him back to the UK just to keep him far away from the organisation as possible. But if we do keep Ed Donatel,
I was going to say, what the Giants should do is, if Donatel gets fired, the Giants should ship Donatel a free medium soda on his way out.
All right, go on.
My apologies. So if we do keep Ed Donatel, I think we've got to look at getting players for their natural positions, because we haven't got out. Well, that's not good.
Oh, shoot. I guess this is the Vikings podcast now,
man. Hang on, improvise. We've got to improvise. So,
yeah, sure.
if we do keep Ed Donatel,